Well, greetings and welcome back. There's one thing in life women love to do, and it's shopping. And I don't know of too many men that do. And you have to admit it, shopping is a very demanding process, and women handle this so much better than we do. I find shopping for food and drink is easy, but clothes or any items for the home, home appliances, furniture, home improvements, it just doesn't resonate with me. And especially when you're interviewing contractors, you're really just reading the way they answer your questions and reading their body language. And of course, this is where tips from friends always help. When my wife asks me if I want to go shopping, and she knows that I don't want to go shopping for clothes and gifts, but occasionally I tag along reluctantly, playing the chauffeur and the good husband. And sometimes if I'm in a mall or a store, I'll tell her that I'm going to look at some clothes or shoes. And when I come back, she always asks, "Did you find anything you like?" And it's always the same answer. I said, "No." So I'm not carrying anything. But I do have to admit, she doesn't buy just anything. Fortunately, she's very discriminating and she rarely purchases something that is useless. She doesn't need to. She has me. The last time I went to the mall with her, I went off on my own and bought an elephant because it was on sale. And she made me bring it back. I got over it. It would have been way too much work anyway. And I'm going to do my impression of the famous coach, Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, smiling. And this is him. I'm going to come in a little closer. And now this is him laughing at a joke. That's not funny. Great coach, but he doesn't like to be in front of the mic. We recently got a letter from the dealer where we bought our car about 10 years ago, and it's my wife's car. And it states there is a defect that can result in an engine compartment fire, which increases the risk of injury, as the hydraulic electronic control unit may experience an electrical short circuit. So I told her to place the letter in the glove compartment, and that if anything happens, just jump out of the car and call the Kia roadside assistance to have your vehicle towed. And remember to carry a fire extinguisher. You'll be all right. I recently thought of this when I created my Facebook page back around 2006, I believe. I claimed that I was employed by Scotland Yard, a la James Bond. I naturally took Facebook lightly back then, and what's particularly odd about this is that no one ever mentioned it to me or asked why I made that claim. And what's even more odd is that the one person who asked me about it a month ago or so was my old college buddy, Kenny, who has been blind since birth. When we reconnected just a few weeks ago, after some 40 years, and some of his aides pointed this out to him. So I suppose I got away with it, and I certainly hope that Scotland Yard doesn't find out about this. But about 2 minutes with me should put the incident to bed. And lately, I was listening to an ad on TV stating that you need to be careful on phishing websites. And I'm thinking to myself, why would we need to be careful on phishing websites? There are people that love to fish, and the websites might provide some information that would be helpful to them. I don't understand it. Of course, I'm joking. And I have to admit, I was never a fisherman. My father and brother enjoyed it, but it wasn't for me. Sitting around waiting for a fish to come on your line, and then you have to remove the fish from the line, throw it in the bucket, and start all over again. I realize that some people can enjoy this, but I'm not a country guy. Fishing and hunting are not my thing. All right, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to rank my top 31 favorite movies of all time, and you'll probably note that these movies have similarities, so I don't represent a wide swath of movies. So here goes. Number 31, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford from 1969. Number 30, Rare Window, starring James Stewart and Grace Kelly from 1954. Number 29, Murder My Sweet, starring Dick Powell and Claire Trevor from 1944. Number 28, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, starring John Candy and Steve Martin from 1987. Number 27, Stand-Up Guys from 2012 with Christopher Walken, Al Pacino, and Alan Arkin. Number 26, The Best Years of Our Lives, starring Frederick March, Dana Andrews, and Myrna Loy from 1946. Number 25, Shawshank Redemption from 1994, starring Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins. Number 24, Joe Kidd, starring Clint Eastwood and John Saxon from 1972. Number 23, The Big Heat from 1953, starring Glenn Ford and Gloria Graham. More film noir. Number 22, Bronx Tale, starring Chaz Palminteri and Robert De Niro from 1993. Number 21, The Departed from 2006, starring Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon. Number 20, Night at the Opera, a Marx Brothers movie from 1935, and I happen to be a big fan of the Marx Brothers. Number 19, Mean Streets, starring Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel from 1973, one of Martin Scorsese's early movies. Number 18, Public Enemy from 1931, starring James Cagney and Jean Harlow. Number 17, Green Book, starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali from 2018. Number 16, Key Largo from 1948, starring Humphrey Bogart and Edward G. Robinson. And you'll be hearing quite a bit from Humphrey Bogart moving forward. Number 15, Christmas Carol, starring Alistair Sim and Kathleen Harrison, a British production from 1951. Great Christmas movie. Number 14, Horse Feathers, a Marx Brothers movie from 1932. Number 13, The General, an incredible silent movie from 1926, almost 100 years ago, starring Buster Keaton and Marion Mack. Number 12, Donnie Brasco, starring Johnny Depp and Al Pacino from 1997. Number 11, To Have and Have Not, a 1944 movie starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. Number 10, The Sting, a 1973 movie starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Number 9, For a Few Dollars More, a spaghetti western from 1965 starring Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and directed by Sergio Leone. Number 8, Duck Soup, starring the Wacky Marx Brothers from 1932. Number 7, All About Eve, a 1950 classic movie starring Bette Davis, Ann Baxter, and the snobby and arrogant and sophisticated George Saunders. Number 6, National Lampoon's Animal House, starring John Belushi and Tim Matheson from 1978. Now for the top 5. Number 5, The Big Sleep, a classic film noir movie from 1946, starring who else but Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall again. Number 4, Goodfellas, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta from 1990. Number 3, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb from 1964, starring Peter Sellers and George C. Scott. Number 2, certainly one of the best movies ever made, starring Humphrey Bogart again, the lovely Ingrid Bergman and Paul Henreid from 1942. And I did say that was Casablanca, right? Yes, Casablanca, thank you. I got lost there. And number 1, once again, Humphrey Bogart, The Maltese Falcon, for me, the best movie ever made, starring once again Humphrey Bogart, Mary Astor, and Peter Lorre from 1941. And I didn't know that Jesus came from Pennsylvania. He was born in Bethlehem. Then, of course, I found out that there are 10 different Bethlehems in the United States, so he could have been from any of those states. And I do know Jesus is from Bethlehem, just 6 miles south of Jerusalem. Weak material, what else can I say? And lastly, I've been seeing an audiologist for my declining hearing, and they ran some tests and suggested I will require a hearing aid in my right ear. After seeing the prices for the 4 options, with the least expensive one being $2,100 and the most expensive one being $7,000, I told her I could buy a decent car for $7,000, a decent used car. So I informed her after some research on my part that I'm going to pass for now on this and see how it goes. And she then told me that getting the hearing aid is a necessity and will make your life a lot easier. And I responded by saying, "What did you say?" And I'm out.